Thank you for joining us this week on The Tongue with Dr. Myke. I'm so glad you're back with us again. As always, make sure you visit the website, thetonguespeakslife.com, a landing page for Dr. Myke where you can access our most recent podcasts from The Tongue with Dr. Myke, The Pillars of Heaven, everything we've done over the last few weeks, right? So, of course, if you want full access to our catalog of podcasts from before, take notice that we are at Psalm346ministries.org. That is going to be our new landing page as our mission grows and our ministry grows. Take notice that we're on Facebook under Psalm 346 Ministries. Make sure you join that group as well. But our new social media platform that is getting the major overhaul as our ministry grows and gathers strength, that is Psalm346ministries.org. Get involved in the community there, share scriptures, join in the conversation, submit prayer requests. Make sure you're listening to Pillars of Heaven, right? That podcast with JB, Brianna, myself. We have special guests on there. We cover a wide range of topics every day. Remember, thetonguespeakslife.com or Psalm346ministries.org, where you can click on there, read about our missions like a Bible for every believer. I'm going to talk about that very shortly. Just a side note, if you do need a Bible, just reach out. It's super simple. Message us right away, either on The Tongue with Dr. Myke or Psalm346ministries.org. And it's super easy. I'll get it out there same day, right? Cure International is on The Tongue. Get involved with Cure International, right? They're doing amazing things in the lives of children. It truly is a blessing to see how far they've come and what they're doing. They're focused on Luke 9:2 that says Jesus sent them out to heal the sick and proclaim the kingdom of God, right? They're doing that through pediatric surgical hospitals that serve children. Children is their mission. It is so powerful to get there. You can donate right to them, right on the site. But let's talk about donations real quick. Support The Tongue with your donations right now at the bottom of the page there. All donations are going to help our goals and our programs, everything that's associated with The Tongue with Dr. Myke, the Pillars of Heaven, to each of our outreach programs like Bibles for Everyone, our Christmas drive that we did, our Easter drive coming up. A special thank you to everybody who donated there. Remember, it's super simple. Get involved. If you haven't listened to our conversation on Pillars of Heaven with Bushfire Church and Pastor Simon in South Sudan, we are getting involved. We're sending supplies to our brothers and sisters in need, right? We need everybody involved now. Every single penny counts. Shipping costs are out of control. We're sending Bibles. We need more and more children's Bibles, as well as, Bushfire takes care of over 100 orphans. Pastor Simon's doing a great thing. I love speaking with him. What a blessing he is. We are going to grow together. Now's the time to get involved. If you want to help send Bibles over there, if you want to help send things for the children over there, now's the time, right? thetonguespeakslife.com or Psalm346ministries.org. As our family keeps growing, I want to say welcome back to everybody. God bless you wherever you're listening, and thank God for the wide reach this program is continuing to make, and let's blast this out further than we ever could imagine, right? So this topic could be a two-part. I don't know how long it's going to go. Let's see how far we get, right? Today's topic is the better life. So this topic may not be what you think it is, right? Of course, we all want the better life. Some of you will pursue that and sacrifice other things for the greater good of that better life. Others are more open. They're openly blessed and are enjoying a better way of life than some people right now. But, in either case, the betterment of life is something a lot of us strive to achieve. The better life I'm talking about that comes through the Bible is from the verses that are found in the wisdom book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. And, these better verses, they focus on some interesting topics, and it's going to help you change your perspective, right? So what does the Bible say about living a better life? John 10:10 is abundant life. It says, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Jesus is pretty clear about that. He didn't come to oppress or make life worse for anyone. He came to wash away sins and to pave the way for an abundant life, right? So if you take a college course or you take any type of online surveys or any type of topic, if you just Google better life or anything of that, how to live a good life, or, they're going to give you tons of things to do. I'm going to go through a couple things real quick, and then we're going to jump into what the Bible tells you. All right. So how to live life, right? Here's some tips that'll help you to discover how to live life on your terms, right? So this is, if you just signed up for a public course somewhere, this is the crap you're going to get. All right, here we go. So set an intention to live with kindness and awareness. No brainer, right? Kindness, compassion, and love makes a better society. You can't expect to understand everyone, right? We're not all on the same journey. That's the important thing you have to do. You have to understand that some people are unkind or even downright evil. They are, of course, the best thing to do with them is avoid them, right? But that's not the point here. You're supposed to surround yourself with positive people. You get rid of that toxic element in your life, and you have to realize you become who you associate with, right? You've all heard that a bad apple spoils the bunch, right? So, you try not to engage in confrontations with anyone in person or especially online. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. If I've caused harm, I apologize and fix the situation, right? And then you take a deep breath, you relax, you breathe out, you refocus, and you put your efforts back on to your work and your goals. Be a great person. Live with integrity. Follow the golden rule, right? Be polite and courageous. Be courteous. Do not curse or give in to angry outbursts. Be positive, right? Do not speak poorly of others. Be virtuous. Eliminate the vices in your life. That better life can be yours, right? How to live that life. If I was a fitness coach, I would tell you to drink one more glass of water, right? Our bodies are composed of 60% water. Right. So drinking water helps us and our body to maintain that healthy balance of body fluids. These fluids play an important role in all your vital activities, like you name it: digestion, absorption of food, blood circulation, saliva, transportation of nutrients. It maintains your body temperature. Right. So drink 8 glasses or more every day. That's what I would tell you if this was my fitness class. Most people are chronically dehydrated. They don't even know it. So don't be one of those people. Don't lose hope, right? Nothing in life is as important as you think it is when you're thinking about it. So don't lose hope. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring you, right? Those things that you worry about are rarely as bad as you imagine they're going to be. Sometimes you have to hurt in order to know, or you have to fall in order to grow, or you lose in order to gain, because one of life's greatest lessons are learned through pain, right? If you want to slow down and accomplish more before noon, that's, you want to do more than most people do in a week, right? Most people do that before noon when they slow down and they have their slow down time and their refresh time. You nurture your mind with great thoughts, right? Where your thoughts go, your life follows. So choose your thoughts wisely, because your life will always move in the direction of your thoughts. Stop whining about the things that go wrong in your life, right? You're never going to go higher than you think. So one of the most important things that I hear people do that I think is terrible, I mean, it's an important thing to mention, but stop comparing yourself to others, right? There's always someone faster. There's always someone better. There's always someone smarter, right? Everyone's different with different levels of intelligence, different levels of skills. If you compare yourself to others, you will be miserable most of your life, right? You compete with yourself. That's it. Even if society tries to make you think the opposite, it's you. You're always thinking there's someone smarter, kinder. You're awesome. The person next to you also awesome, right? Enjoy your own life without comparing it to somebody else, right? So, of course, in this day and age, live a better life. Get off your phone, right? Watch less TV. Turn off Netflix, right? Set internet controls, ration out the amount of news that you're watching, or eliminate it. It's hard to put down the cell phone and pick up a book when technology dominates your life, right? There's no need to quit technology altogether, but, it's smart to reduce the time you invest in unproductive activities and increase the time you put on to reach your goals. Limit social media use. It's one of the biggest time wasters. Do one small thing that progresses a major life goal, right? Having a major life goal and not progressing in it is like an energy drain, right? So if you want to write a book or start a blog, start with a paragraph, right? If you want to run a marathon, you start with a mile, right? Do a financial health check. Map out your monthly income and expenditure. Save more. What is that one thing you should be doing right now that you're not? Do it, right? Number one, stop being afraid, though. Stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start thinking of what could go right. I think I need to write books about this stuff. I'm telling you. We generate fears while we sit down, right? We overcome them by our actions. So you have to choose comfort for your future self, right? And you have to do that over comfort right now. Imagine if you're living forward 10 years from now and you're looking back. What would your future self, what would you wish you've been doing different today? One of my favorite quotes is entrepreneurship is living a few years ahead of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life the way most people can't. Right? That quote applies to everybody, no matter what their profession is. The point is, you get started now. One day you're going to be older and wiser, and what would that person say to you today? The secret of getting ahead is getting started, right? The secret of getting started, breaking through your complex, overwhelming tasks, is to break that into small, manageable tasks and start on the first one, right? To live a better life, you let go of the regrets. You own it. You learn from it. The past should be a learning experience, not an everlasting punishment. What's done is done. You got to move on from that. Whatever has happened to you in the past has no power over this present moment because you live now, right? Address the choices you've made in the past and change the choices you want to make in the future. Like, make room for the new, right? Some changes look negative on the surface, and you'll soon realize that space is being created in your life for something new to come out. Don't dwell on the past. Your history can't be erased, but your future isn't written, right? Make the most of what's going to happen instead of worrying about what you can't change. Work for a cause. Don't work for somebody to cheer for you or applause, right? That's a good saying. Work for a cause, not for applause, right? Live life to express or not to impress. Don't strive to make your presence noticed. You just make your absence felt. Quit complaining. Right? I can't emphasize that enough. Appreciate how blessed you are every day. Stop judging people. Judging a person, it doesn't define who they are. It defines who you are. Right? Judging equals complaining. Right? So the next time you feel like complaining, just ask yourself, what's good about this situation? What can I learn about this situation? If you've ever read the 21 Key Principles for Success, that's what they talk about. That's it. Life lessons. What do I learn? Enjoy simple things in your life. Simplify your life. And that's, it's about having more and not less of good things, right? If you think simplifying your life will mean making less money or enjoying less success, so think again. Simplifying your life is about having more, not less of the good things. More passion, more meaningful work and relationships. And you have one of those things by having fewer of the bad things, unsatisfying things that self-destruct, like habits or energy-draining feelings, so on like that. Live in the moment. Appreciate everything, the sounds, the smells, the sights, everything you take in that you take for granted. Remind yourself every waking hour to do that. Happiness is a matter of choice. You choose it rather than it choosing you. Where focus goes, the energy goes. Right? What you focus on is what you get. No matter how bad you may think that things are, there are at least a few things that you can be grateful for. Most people set their goals and they commit only a short period of time, right? People who succeed in life have true commitment and laser sharp focus on the things they want to achieve. The man who chases two cats catches neither one. That's a popular saying I've heard along the way. People who say no are more likely to be focused on their goals rather than, those who say yes to every new shiny object they have to have. You have to recognize that everything worthwhile has a cost. You have to be willing to pay for it. Every activity has an opportunity cost. You have to ask, is this activity worth what I'm sacrificing for it? Clarity of purpose comes first, right? Being absolutely ruthless in refusing to spend time where it simply cannot give you optimal results. A successful life requires a series of trade-offs. You give up one thing to achieve another. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to work long hours to make your business a success, right? If you're also a parent, that may mean missing out on some of your children's special occasions, right? And there's no judgment here. Those are just facts. Likewise, if you fail to save now or invest now, the chances are that the later years, you're not going to be able to afford the lifestyle you hope for. Again, not judging. That's life. Recognize it and choose wisely, right? You can't do it all, and you don't have to, right? As we talked about already, everything has an opportunity cost, right? So if your hourly rate is $1,000 per hour, there's no point in doing $20 an hour task, right? Look at the bigger picture. What are you best at, right? And I would suggest asking yourself, what do you enjoy doing as you will end up being good at it, right? What 3 things are you best at? If you can find a business or a career that incorporates the 3 things that you're best at, it's almost a guarantee you're going to become a world class at them, or at the very least better than average. Live a better life. Talk to yourself kindly. Treat yourself with some respect. Take time to notice yourself. Notice how you speak to yourself. Use kind words. Don't judge yourself harshly. Observe. Judgment is different from observation. Judgment is when you attach a value to something that's happened or is happening. Observation is looking at what happened and not attaching value. You'll learn from observation. Observation leads to improvements. Observation is positive where judgment's negative. Pay attention to your body and what your body's feeling. Do a self-check, scan your body. Notice how your body's feeling. Is there anything that you need to spend attention on? When you do that, declutter your life and your surroundings. To focus on the things that matter, you need to declutter your space by removing unnecessary items. Living a simple life by owning less stuff is a great idea, right? We need much less stuff than we think we need. But if you still want to keep everything you have, use a system that allows you to be organized. If you have too many things that are unorganized, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to get anxious. You're going to be not focused. If you receive a lot of paperwork, sort through it often. Set up a filing system and shred everything else. Set a system up so that you can only touch that paperwork once rather than shuffling it around your desk and say, I'll get to that later, I'll do this later. Well, you end up picking it up and doing it over and over and over. The same applies to important online communications, right? Have a system for responding to important emails. You have to learn to say no more often. Say no and own it, right? Set your life priority. Be firm in saying no to the things that are not important to you. Those things that don't align with your goals, right? Warren Buffett said the best, right? Reading successful people, watching them say no to almost everything. That's what makes you successful. When you understand that, you'll be inclined to say no more often, right? Of course, I could tell you to stretch and take care of your body that way. But more importantly, say goodbye to people that don't bring positivity into your life. Most of us, we hear that or some variation of, this is powerful, right? Listen, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's you. That's what you become, right? Don't be the smartest person in the room. Hang out with them, learn from them. People that are smarter than you, that's who you hang out with. Respectfully decline the company of negative people, right? Notice your flaws, embrace them. Flaws are, the things that bring individualization to every one of us, right? Without them, we'd all be looking or behaving and sounding the same. Life would be without any color or rhyme or meaning, right? It's not a flaw, it's a trademark. Whenever you feel your shortcomings holding you back, think of like Marilyn Monroe's a good one. She had a blemish that was regarded as one of the most famous beauty icons of all time. Like that's what she was regarded as. It wasn't her flaw. It became who she was and a trademark of her. So keep showing up, right? Show up, keep showing up. Somebody said that 99% of success is just showing up. Man, is that true? I write a lot about tons about success. Being an entrepreneur, I've interviewed lots of successful people, right? Most of them are truly humble. Some play down their success and suggest that maybe they were just lucky. But the common theme is that, the harder they worked, the more luck they had, or what they called luck. Or the more they showed up, the more luck or success they had, right? And this is something here, I put this in here, do more than that's expected of you. You know, somebody told me before, do the job before you get paid to do the job. You know, and that's something I passed on to young people throughout the years, including my little guy. You know, it's easier to progress in a career than most people if you imagine applying this principle, right? Some people are going to tell you shouldn't perform work that you're not paid for. I disagree, right? I can't remember who said it to me first, but it's something I've always remembered. Being enthusiastic is worth 25 IQ points, right? When life forces your hand, embrace that new chapter. Life's not going to always go to plan. You got to accept it. There's going to be good and there's going to be not so good days, right? Being enthusiastic helps you bounce back in the face of adversity. Remember, life happens for you, not to you. Live a better life. Live below your means. Spend less than you earn. You know, that means, you know, trading immediate pleasure for the sake of long-term gain. If you're placing a higher priority on saving than you do on spending, you know, this takes self-discipline and sacrifice, you know, but it's worth it. Don't buy the next big thing just because you can. Be grateful for what you have rather than craving what you don't have. Invest in your education instead of materialistic goods. And when those crises and those disasters strike, don't waste them, right? There's always something to learn, even if that learning is what not to do, right? No problems, no progress. Don't take it personally, though. Don't take it personally when someone turns you down. Assume, you know, they're like you. They're busy, they're occupied, or distracted. Ask again later. You know, it's amazing how often a second or third asking works out. After that, withdraw and continue on. Right? Live a better life. Develop the habit of creating good habits. Success is not accidental, right? There are success habits that you can adopt that will embrace your life in ways you've never even imagined. It'll enhance it. The purpose of a habit is to remove that action from self-negotiation, right? You no longer spend energy deciding whether to do something. It aligns with your goals and values. Just do it. If that aligns, go. Good habits can range from, you know, always telling the truth, not swearing, getting up early, whatever. Go outside, go for a walk, you know, go to the beach. You know, I didn't say go for a run or go to the gym. Like you should do that anyway, but the point's different, right? Take a walk. Like walk around, sit in the park, leisurely ride your bike, spend time outdoors. It's good for you, right? It'll improve your creativity. It'll help you age better. You'll feel happier, and you can make the more want. It'll make you want to work harder. I rarely have ever had my best idea while I sat at the desk or I sat in the office. Because when you're out doing something, practice being grateful, right? You got to be the owner on this one. But it could easily be, I know this is down the list here, but this could easily be number one, right? If there was a secret to a better life, this is it. Be grateful, right? Those who pay attention to what is good in their life instead of what is bad are more likely to feel good about their life. Gratitude improves your self-esteem. Gratitude enhances empathy and reduces aggression. Celebrate your minor accomplishments. That's important. Being grateful helps you feel happier. It increases your feel-good dopamine and serotonin that helps you deflect negative thoughts, right? Research will tell you that. The attitude of gratitude. Who's ever heard of that one, right? All right, enough of that crap. So, now that you heard some human wisdom, let's talk about what the Bible says about better ways of life, right? Let's get in there. Psalm 118:8. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans. This, with what follows on the next verse, is a conclusion from the above premise and experience that it's good to trust in the Lord. Such enjoy peace. They're in safety. They shall not want of any good thing. Never, ever be ashamed and confounded. You know, it's better to trust in the word of the Lord than to put confidence in man. It's not good to put confidence in man at all. You know, it's trusting to a broken staff or to a shadow. which can yield no support or relief. It's best to trust in the Lord, who's able to help, who's willing to help, who's faithful to his word, and is unchangeable in his promise. Whereas man, though they might have a good intention, sometimes it's not in their power. And when it's not in their power and it's not promised, they disappoint, being changed or unfaithful. Wherever you're at, trust not in man, but in the Lord. Cursed is the man that trusts in man. Look at Jeremiah 17:5, right? Here's another better in life. Better a little with righteousness than much gain with injustice. Proverbs 16:8. Gotten in a righteous way, held by a righteous claim, used in a righteous manner, attended with a life of righteousness and holiness, and also along with an interest in the righteousness of Christ, right? The small pittance is better than great revenues without right, ordained or obtained in an unjust way, right? Detained from the right owner of them, used in the unrighteous manner in a course of sin and wickedness without judgment. Here's the next better. What a person desires is unfailing love. Better to be poor than a liar. Proverbs 19:22. The desire of a man is his kindness. Either the grace and kindness of God, which is, desirable by every sensible man as being most excellent and better than life and anything in it, or it's his desire to show kindness. A good man is desired of riches. He's desirous of that, right? And he wants to make it in the power of his hands to do good to others and to man who has it in their power, or an opportunity of showing kindness to his fellow friends or creatures on this planet, right? Such a disposition and conduct render a man very desirable, and it's the beauty of a man, right? But a man that's not able to do kindness to another, yet has a desire to, his goodwill is his kindness, right? And that will is taken for the deed. So whoever denies, he'll have the ability to relive, and the promise to do that. I don't want to get too deep into this one because it's going to open up a lot of discussion here. Men of high degree are different from the poor man when they should rely. It's a better man. Than there's so much to this one. I don't even know why I put this one in here. I'm going to take it out. But the overall point of it, the person desires unfailing love, right? And taking the word in the sense reproach, as it's sometimes used and understood, is that the sinful desires of the heart, the imaginations of the thought of the heart, which are evil continually, and so matter reproach. And a poor man is better than a liar, right? So let's move to the next one. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. Ecclesiastes 4:9. So what's that mean, right? So look carefully at what that's saying. We should caution ourselves from making a quick interpretation of that, right? The three following if clauses clarify that Solomon here is not simply stating that having two of something is better than having one, like $200 are better than 100, or two televisions are better than one. He had hundreds of concubines. He had many stables with the best horses, many wives, lots of gold, right? He's not speaking of the volume of possessions or even the number of people he had around him. He had all of that. In the midst of all his pursuits, he found that he didn't have quality relationships with those around him. This is what he missed despite the many projects he completed, right? Two are better than one. The two speaks not just of a couple such as a married couple, but of a relationship between individuals. Two is the minimum number needed for this relationship, right? So it's used to describe what Solomon is speaking of. Solomon essentially was denouncing the value of getting what he wanted in life while disregarding those around him, right? He pursued his life rather than God's will, right? So no doubt he, like many of us, would have said, that his life goals were God's will. I'd like to suggest that when said with a high independent spirit, there's no longer, it no longer can truly be God's goal. That doesn't mean it's not, it might not be a special burden or vision that God gives us, right? Each person has a special task that God has for him or for her. But the question is whether the individual might compromise God's will, to get what God wanted, right? Abraham had a worthy goal of being a great father for God, but his reliance on his own resources made intimacy with Hagar twisted and not in conformity, right? Read that story. It didn't conform to God's will. Can't people do things in unloving ways to get a worthy task accomplished? Yeah, man, that happens all the time, right? Teamwork. The world applies that. They take advantage of this concept by, developing teams because they see value in it. That's because the truth taught by the word of God is that two are better than one, right? So when anyone utilizes that truth, they're going to be blessed. So let me ask you, what's the difference between a team and a group of people, right? They might both have the same amount of people in it, but they're truly very different. Solomon is speaking of the synergy of spirit that happens when people are living with the same common purpose, right? That word synergy is from the Greek, and I'm Greek, so I know that, right? It's the Greek words meaning work together. They're not living in that context for themselves, but for the good of the whole. Of course, just stating that in a group, is a team, but it does not help in creating a good working team. Each individual they have to be committed to that joint task, but also to that of working with and valuing the contributions of everybody else. Sometimes the pool of success, it helps people overcome their selfish goals, but the real attitude needed to fuel a team is Christ's spirit, right? The divine Godhead is the greatest team. God has brought this team concept, the synergy of spirit, into two particular institutions fundamental for human civilization, right? It's marriage and the church, and they go back and forth. Husband and wife, right? Being a family concept is the two are one concept of marriage. The husband and the wife are two distinct people with their own wills, their own desires. But in marriage, that special synergy takes place and it creates more than what they would each have by themselves, right? Jesus said that two shall become one flesh. Consequently, they're no longer two, but one, right? Mark 10:8, you can read that. The question is whether the couple lives as one, right? Do they live as one? Allow me, to ask a few questions on husband and wife relationships, right? Great marriages trust in God's plan. A married couple's faith helps them look beyond their spouse's problem and increasingly towards God's greater work, right? A strong marriage is largely built on this truth and the mutual commitment to carry it out. So how important is your wife's perspective on things? Ask yourself that. Do you share your plans with your wife? If not, why not? Do you, as a husband, understand that God often tries to help you through your wife? Do you, as a wife, submit yourself to your husband? Why or why not? Right? The second part, think about those. Second part is the church. Beyond the church concept, we have a many are one concept, right? We believe that more good can come from many working independently, rather than a number of uncommitted individuals. Taskmasters get that done by, authority and threat. How else was the Great Wall of China built? But the church is dependent on volunteers. Each person must be convinced that their part in the whole or the church will be weak, right? When the perspective of God's truth becomes established in our lives, then the church is strong. Members sincerely care about others. If church leaders do not have that concept deep embedded in their soul, then despite all the team talk, they're selfishly going to act independently, and eventually everyone gets hurt. Notice how Paul spoke to the church when they were getting a bit divisive, right? Read 1 Corinthians 3:16. It says, "Do you not know you're a temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If any man destroys the temple of God, God will destroy him, for the temple of God is holy, and that is what you are." Right? Together, the church, form the temple of God. Each of us is like a living stone, right? God chose to dwell in his people as one. So if we hurt any, then we're defiling the whole temple of God where God dwells. The way something is done, at least as important as the what is being done. Your attitude towards your boss is more important than just working on the project for him. The project in the end will be gone. It'll be done, right? Nobody will remember that. Yeah, he might not remember it. You might not remember it. But whether you respected your boss at that given moment, that becomes an eternal matter, right? Two are better than one. When we work together for a common cause, valuing and treasuring, those close to us, then we will flourish. We talked about that in the first truth of the verse, but it's a blessing, right? Solomon says when two or more together for a common purpose, they will have a good return for their labor. I don't know if he's suggesting instant success, but what he's saying in a general way is that things work out much better if you do it by observing God's mysterious way, just like in a marriage. Fruit comes from working closely together, whether it's in the family or in the church, right? So here's an example, right? A friend of mine he had a startup company. So he becomes the CEO. He invested a lot in the company and employed a number of people that were his friends, right? So when the startup was in a very shaky state financially, he realized that there wasn't enough money for everybody's salary, right? Not everybody could get paid. So him as the CEO, he should get the first pickings. He's first in line, right? But he decided that he would lead as a servant leader. He didn't use that word, but that's what he did. He gave others their salary and didn't take one for himself, right? That went against, I'm sure what he liked, and he chose, to chase all of that to live for self. He humbled himself, and by doing so, he prospered the others, right? He could have just fired one or two employees and lessened the salary, right? But instead, he chose to sacrifice his own. So what was he doing? He valued that livelihood of the others more than his own, right? The Lord then used that financially tight time to reveal his love through the CEO and test and train him. And later on, like 6 months later, God turned things around and things prospered, right? Here's a man who's trying to practice his faith in real life. Does God care about those individuals, those startups? Yes and no, right? He's concerned with how people in the startup work together. Sure he is. It's the same at the other areas of our lives, each becoming a setting for people's choices. That CEO made his choice, right? He'll make many more choices in the future to affirm that truth. He can be confident that it's always better to care about others than simply trying to do what one can do for themselves. Something better will happen. A greater reward will come from hard work. That verse becomes a promise to inspire hope and encourage us to make the right decisions in our life, right? I've made some decisions as a worker, as a father, take a special time aside each day and train either your child or train somebody in God's way, right? You need to have that worship time each day. You could easily say that the more you work, the better the results will be. But, do you allow the other values like training up children in the Lord to shape your thinking, right? Are you willing to compromise on that one thing in order to secure more work hours, right? The pursuit of excellence service is shaped by concern for those around you. When you value those around you, you pay attention to them as God desires. And that truth then shapes the way you do something. When you're faithful, you trust God to prosper you in each endeavor, right? You need not fear. So, somehow a greater return will come to each situation, even if that takes a miracle, right? So when you do things God's way, he brings about a good return. You can trust him even if you don't see it right away. All right, next one. Proverbs 15:16. Better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth and turmoil. Man, we could spend hours on this one, right? Not a little is better than much of what is good. And the things of this world, are in themselves, obviously poverty, riches, simply considered, those are attended with different circumstances. If a man has but little worldly substance, yet he has the fear of God in his heart and before his eyes, the fear which has God for, being his life author, that in itself is a treasure, right? And it may be that, that is set aside for grace. Proverbs 16:32, better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. Man, I did a lot of stuff on this one. He is slow to anger is better than the mighty. man, we talked about Alexander in this one. We talked about this could go on for this. I'm going to breeze through this one, but I want you to study Proverbs 16:32, and I want you to realize why they're saying better a patient person than a warrior. One with self-control. We talked about self-control a lot. All right, Proverbs 16:16. Let's jump down. How much better to get wisdom than gold, to get insight rather than silver, right? To obtain and possess, a fountain of wisdom, in Christ, in whom, all the treasures are hidden of wisdom and knowledge. They're infinitely preferable to thousands of gold and silver, to gain knowledge of him and of God in him, in which eternal life is connected, in comparison to which all, the things that are more precious than gold that perish, right? It's a spiritual experiment, and you have to know that knowledge of the gospel and the truths of it, which are more to be desired than gold, than fine gold. It says, yea, than fine gold. The same things, designed as before. It's expressed in different words. A spiritual understanding of Christ and the gospel, an experience of the grace of God through, what some think is wisdom, is better than understanding as gold, right? Which is preferred. It's better than silver. But in fact, the ministry Jesus received is as superior to theirs as a covenant which he is the mediator is superior to the old one, right? Since the new covenant is established on better promises. And that you can see in Hebrews 8:6. It says, but now he hath ordained a more excellent ministry, right? And before we get into that one, I want to jump back to Ecclesiastes, right? And it says, do not say, why were the old days better than these? For it is not wise to ask such questions, right? In the common opinion, right, and most people think of this, all the ages that prevail against men, the former times that were better than the present ones, trade flourished more, men got more wealth and more riches, they lived in greater ease, they complain that their lot is cast in hard times, right? And they're ready to lay the blame on the providence of God, and they murmur at it and what they shouldn't do, for thou does not inquire wisely concerning this, right? If you read on into that verse, it goes into quarreling and murmuring and distributions as if it were unequal, and justice not done in one age as it was in another. Proverbs, let's jump back. Proverbs 22, a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold, right? A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. For to have a good name with some turns to a man's reproach rather than his credit, a good name among good men, a name in the house of God, which is better than sons and daughters, a new name than the name of the children of God, which, when you receive it, this is preferred to a multitude of riches, right? It's not to be procured by them, and even loving favor rather than silver and gold. Favor with God rather than favor with men, right? Philippians 1:23, I am torn between the two. I desire to depart and be with Christ, which is better by far, but is more necessary for you that I remain in the body. All right, this is, if you do one of my Philippians courses, you'll talk about this letter, right, to the Philippians, and Philippi was a Roman colony, and the chief city of the one part of Macedonia, where there was a famous battle there where Caesar and Mark Antony and Brutus and Cassius, I want you to read that, do your history, right? But before we go, the introduction to that and the importance of that here is that there's so much in that verse that let's jump into 1-2, right? It's mentioned by name, it's described by the epistle, Paul and Timothy, who were described by their character, servants of Jesus Christ, and also the person to whom the epistle was sent by the place of their abode, Philippi, the members of the church and their general character, saints in Jesus Christ. It goes on and on and on, and talks about why it is, why they were torn between, why he's torn with the desire to be with Christ, which is better, but it's necessary that it remains in the body, right? So there's an inner turmoil going on with not only wanting to be with the Lord, but having to be what's better, said about his mission right now. And that goes back to one of the Psalms, right? Because your love is better than life, my lips will glorify you. I will praise you as long as I live and lift your name. I will lift up my hands. Psalm 63, right? But that talks about loving kindness better than life, right? For life without the love of God is nothing else than death, right? A man that has no share in the love of God is dead while he lives, right? All the enjoyments of life, health, riches, honor, friends, they're nothing without the love of God. And the meaning and the blessings that are preferred is to the greatest without it. And Proverbs 15 and 17 talk about that as well. That's why it says, my lips shall praise thee. That is for thy loving kindness, and because it is better than life and any enjoyment of it. Psalm 84 goes on to say, better is one day in the courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. For a day in the courts is better than 1,000. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God, right? I have chose to cleave to the house of the sanctuary of God, right? Than to dwell in the tents of the wickedness. There's so much there, better the little than the righteous, than the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked. For the power of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord upholds the righteous. Right? A little that a righteous man has. It's the portion of the righteousness, to the most part, that have but little of the world's goods. Like some indeed have been rich, like Abraham or Lot or David or Joseph or others, generally speaking. And the wicked have the largest share of the worldly things. And the righteous have but little and are as having nothing comparatively. Right? But it's better than the riches of many wicked. Do not forsake your friend or a friend of the family, and do not go to your relative's house when disaster strikes you. Better a neighbor nearby than a relative far away. Proverbs 27, right? This one I put in here, and I'll tell you why. It's somebody asked me, and they're having trouble within their family, and they're leaning on their neighbors, and they feel guilty because they're not involving their family in it. But this verse here says, do not forsake your friend or a friend of the family, and don't go to your relative's house when disaster strikes you. Better a neighbor nearby than a relative far away. And I want you to dig into that verse, because it also says, neither go into your brother's house in the day of thy calamity, right? In Proverbs 18:24. And it says that a neighbor that is near than a brother that is far off, right? A neighbor that is a fast and faithful friend, right? And he's near you to the places that you are. And it's useful to a man in time of distress, more than a brother who's blood drawn with you and near in blood, yet far off in place. So much more affection, and far from a man who can promise nothing and little is expected, right? Ecclesiastes. Another part of this is, and I know we're going long here, so I'm going to wrap it up. But in Ecclesiastes, there's a verse that says, I know that there's nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is a gift from God, right? And this is one of the better life verses about throughout the entire Bible. Right, it confirms what is being observed. Right, the inconsistency of the frailty of man and the changes, his fruitless toil and labor and all his works. And it's best to be content with present things and be cheerful in them and be thankful for them. It all comes from the hand of God, and it's a present and it's a joy. It's a gift from God. Right. If we did the study on Ecclesiastes, if you want that, let me know. I'll send it out to you. But everything is certain with God. Nothing is certain with men, nor to be depended on, nor, can happiness be placed thereon. There is no striving against the providence of God, nor altering the course of things. The labor of man is unprofitable, and affliction and vexation follows. It's so important that you understand. I mean, there's so much in there. right? And I skipped a lot of it as well, because this would have went on for 3 hours. We can see that there's a human way to try, and there's a human way to try and think about pursuing a better life. And it says that it's a gift of God to enjoy these things, right? So there's nothing wrong with wanting a better life. We see in the Bible that the books of wisdom say all this about a better life, and what is better than what maybe we think or what we say we want. Consider those things before pursuing the wants or the desires that you put your efforts into. Man, that was a lot. Let's pray, right? So, Father, thank you for your never-ending love towards us, and thank you that you take the time to hear our prayers and that you know the desires of our hearts. You placed the thirst in our lives, and you have provided the guidelines for all of us to follow, right? Your word tells us which items are better to pursue and which items are better to have. Maybe this will differ from what we want. It definitely put things into a better perspective for us. Thank you for giving us the desires to want to achieve, to want to excel, to want to move further, to go farther, and want to achieve a higher level. Your word says that it's better for two people to pursue than one. It instructs us on so many levels. Let your words bury themselves deep down inside our hearts, and let them plant there and let them grow and push out the other desires that may be taking up our time without reason or need. I pray for the listeners around the world that need to hear your words of encouragement, that they need to hear the guiding outline for what you want in their lives. You laid out the blueprints for us to follow. I pray we are all receptive and diligent enough to listen, to adapt, to understand, and to shift our focus. I pray that in Jesus' name. Remember, God didn't remove the Red Sea. He parted it, right? Sometimes God doesn't remove your problems. He makes way through them. You got to understand that, and you got to understand that God's got this timing for you. You want that better life. Put your trust and your dependence on God. Romans 10:5 says, if you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. It's for with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it's with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. Man, that's it. You're not promised another second in this life, right? You're here one day and you're gone. I pray in this season you search harder and more than ever to find Jesus, right? He's coming back. You've got to know who he is. God, I know I'm a sinner. I can't do this alone. I believe you are God. You sent your son Jesus to die in my place. He took my penalty of sin, and on the third day he rose to glory. He's coming back again. Jesus, come into my life. I accept you into my heart. Forgive my sins and become the leader in my life. I turn it all over to you. Guide me, teach me, help me to grow and learn more about you, right? That's it. The poor man called out and the Lord heard him, and he saved him through all his troubles. God bless you and your decisions. Be prepared for great things this week, right? In Jesus' name. And be strong, be courageous. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. The Lord your God always goes with you wherever you go, right? I want you to a quick reminder that we are pushing hard for Bibles for Bushfire Church. And if you want to get involved, man, now is the time. They're in need of a lot of things, and we are going to fulfill as much as we can. We're going to take there's no mistake, and there's no wonderment to why our two ministries have joined together, and we are going to bless each other. And they're praying for all of us right now, and we're praying for them. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.